Hello YouTube, this is Darkon633, and today we're taking a look at actually a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows basic figure. And this time we're going to take a look at Casey Jones based on the character from the recent TMNT movie. Now what makes this version of the Casey Jones very special is that while the first release was just a standard version of Casey Jones that could be just like a generic version of the character, this one actually has a molded face of Stephen Amell, the actor who plays Casey Jones in the film. And that's actually quite exciting to actually get a hold of this figure. When I initially saw and got the original Casey figure, I thought that that was the best we're going to get, and to me, I thought the main reason is because Playmates wasn't really known to make very good facial designs for characters, so I thought it would be better off just releasing just a standard version of Casey Jones. Now, upon hearing that they were actually going to release a Casey Jones with the removable mask, or at least it wasn't shown with the removable mask, it just looked like it was just a regular Casey Jones, which we'll look at the back of the box. I was actually really looking forward to that figure, and so happened to stop by Target the other day and find this figure on the shelf. Unfortunately, I had to go through this process since it wasn't picking up in the system, but I still was able to get a hold of the figure. Before we take a look at the figure, we're going to take a look at the box. Now from the box alone, unless you looked at the actual accessories and just how it is, there is no real indicator, at least in the front of the box, that will tell you what version of Casey Jones this is. Just look at the box alone. On the back though, it gives you a better indication since it actually shows that version of the figure back here along with the new April. But that's pretty much it for the box. Now we're going to take a look at the figure itself. The figure, actually surprisingly, as I mentioned earlier, comes with a removable mask, and it's actually, at least to my knowledge, one of the only main figure from Playmates to actually include a Casey Jones with the mask that's actually more accurate than what was released in the past. Now what I mean by that is that the mask actually has a molded strap that goes over the head, and then when you push it down, it acts like a full mask. What I've seen with previous Playmates Toys versions of Casey Jones is that it was just like a regular type of mask that would clip onto the face, but physically those technically should not have been able to stay on because the straps would have been needed to stay on around the head. So this is actually cool to actually have a figure that actually is a little bit more accurate in the way that a mask is supposed to work. Now we're actually going to remove the mask completely to look at the Stephen Amell likeness of the character. Now this is actually not bad by Playmates. Obviously it's not the most accurate, and it's still a pretty good job at representing Stephen Amell's face actually. I've seen a lot worse in other toy lines, so it's really nice to actually see one that's pretty accurate actually to the character. Here he is standing next to the standard Casey Jones. I do not know where his weapon or his skates are at the moment, since I kind of stored him away a little while back after I got him. But it's the same exact thing we're getting. It has the same gummy hockey stick and the same skates. But the figure itself is also actually quite similar. The neck on this version is actually a little bit shorter, and the head is a little bit bigger. This one's a lot skinnier, and because of that he actually has a longer neck, and makes him just a little bit taller than the standard release of the figure, so I think that's really cool. Articulation-wise, you're actually going to get a pretty decent amount, and surprisingly, which I'm going to get to first, a waist joint. It's kind of hard to see and it's kind of hard to get into due to the way that Playmates designs the leg joints, but it does have waist articulation, which is very rare for Playmates toys, since a lot of the characters just don't really have a good place to even put a waist joint to begin with. Because most of the figures that they release are just the turtles themselves, so obviously you're not going to really see waist joints. We're just going to take off the hockey stick and the skates to look at the figure normally. And the rest of the articulation-wise, his head can turn around and look up. It's kind of on a ball joint, but it's not the standard ball joint. It's a little different, I think, in my opinion. But it does have some good range of movement. He has ball joints at the shoulders. Can bend outward really far. He has a single joint in the elbows. And he actually has wrist joints. He has joints in the hips, but it's a bit weird. Due to the way that they're molded, you can kind of move them forward like this, but unfortunately you do need to move it around just to get the legs to move. And unlike the Hasbro joints, there isn't a separate joint that's around on the ball joint itself on the legs, so when you turn it, unfortunately, that's about it. You're not going to get a second joint where you can actually bend this forward better, unfortunately. It's just the way that Playmates designs their toys. And he has single knee joints. So, while it's not the most articulated figure, it's still a really cool figure of Casey Jones to actually get a hold of. Now, I highly recommend picking up this Casey Jones, and hopefully, if you do manage to find a Casey Jones in your store, you won't end up in the same situation where I did in order to get it. But I definitely recommend picking up this version of Casey Jones, since I think Playmates actually did a really good job of releasing it, even if they never actually announced this figure would even exist outside of the box itself. We're going to take a quick look at close-up of his face one more time, and yeah, I really enjoy this figure and I highly recommend picking this up. Anyways, please comment and subscribe and check out Hero Taku and Hero Club. Also, please check me on Twitter under Darkon633, and please check down the other channels down below. I'll be back to bring more reviews in the future, but for now, I'll be sending you to. Bye.